hopefully going to work with you.
Just minimise it.
It's just after Sally Bethlehem. Wish you all the best, but I wish you die.
Welcome to ordinary meeting of Hunters Hill Council 4554. Can I ask you all please to be upstanding? Council would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land and waters of Hunters Hill, and Council pays their respect to elders past, present and emerging. We're joined this evening by Father Michael Carroll and he will be delivering the prayer.
I thank you for the invitation to lead you in prayer, and I've taken a short reading from the Gospel used on Holy Thursday in the number of the churches here in Hunters Hill. A reading from the Gospel of John. Jesus came to Simon Peter, and he said to him, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus answered, "At the moment you do not know what I'm doing, but later you will understand." Then Peter said, "Yes, I accept that you are going to wash my feet." And then Jesus said to him, "I call on you to wash the feet of our followers." We pray that the Jesus' command of service to others, which he symbolised and epitomised in his washing the feet of his disciples, may in fact permeate our society, the attitude of service to others. And we pray that that attitude continues within the Council of Hunters Hill. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Please be seated. Proceedings of all council meetings in open session, including all debate and addresses by the public, are recorded and webcast live on council's website for the purpose of facilitating community access. Webcast archives are stored and available to the public on council's website. The recordings may be disclosed under the provisions of the Government Information Public Access Act of 2009, the GIPA Act. Members of the public attending council meeting may have their image, voice and personal information, including their name and address, recorded, publicly broadcast and archived, or as an observer or other interested party. Members of the public consent to the use of their image, voice and personal information. Thank you. Councillors, there are no apologies for this evening. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Lane.
Apprehended conflict for item 4.7.
4.7, thank you. Any other declarations, councillors? If not, we'll move on to the confirmation of minutes of ordinary meeting 4553 held 23rd February. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Tanus Sleeman. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. There are no mirror minutes. There are no notices of motion. We move now to item 4.1, the draft strategy to combat anti-Semitism. We have a number of speakers to this item. We have 3 speakers, which we will admit now. The first speaker is Colonel Michael Scott, who is not here. We have Miss Skutnik by Zoom.
Hi.
Sorry, thank you, Ms. Skutnik. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I am Shana Gutnick here as representative for CAM, Combating the Anti-Semitism Movement, as an official public affairs advocate. Since October 9th, there has been a clear shift within Australia. Major anti-Semitic rallies and major anti-Semitic rhetoric have unfortunately reared its ugly head following the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust on the 7th of October 2023. Unfortunately, the absence of a strong response and no repercussions has allowed the anti-Semitism that was always, unfortunately, an undercurrent to come forth and be visible, acceptable, and even celebrated in public spaces. And we are unfortunately seeing this vile hatred more and more openly in public discourses online, even in schools. We can see how, unfortunately, the educational system has been failing us. Ideas are being repeated without context. Social media has normalized so much hate, And we can see that is how certain attitudes become normalized and accepted within society. We're also seeing language used that gives cover where anti-Zionism is used as a way to express or justify anti-Jewish sentiment, and that distinction is being blurred in practice. And allowing that rhetoric about Jewish people identity and belonging has been said more freely than otherwise would be generally allowed. December 14th was a massive wake-up call, a major turning point, and it made it clear that this is not distant, it is our reality here within Australia, and it is affecting our own communities. This is a real lived experience for me. My father, Reuven Morrison, was unfortunately killed while fighting the terrorists. This is unfortunately a life that Jewish Australians have been living for far too long. And I would absolutely love to commend Hunter Hill Council for taking initiative, moving this motion, showing that there is a clear public stance, education awareness, showing early intervention, especially with young people, defined reporting and response pathways and support for those affected, partnership with relevant organizations, as well as council leadership in setting standards that hopefully will be national standards once clear and definitive action has been taken. We can see that local government clearly plays a clear role. And when we don't address something, it unfortunately becomes normalized. What we need to do now is undo the damage that has already been done, unfortunately, and take steps to ensure that no further repercussions will be had. We can see from this motion that this is not complicated. Leadership means setting the standard early and not reacting late. Either we are clear about what we will not accept, or we have to accept what follows and what becomes normal within society. So I'd like to once again thank the council very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Gutnick. Councillors, any questions? If not, thank you. We'll move on to Michelle Goldman, who I believe is also online. Thank you, Michelle. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Goldman, and I'm the CEO of the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies, and we are the representative body of the Jewish community in New South Wales with some 55 constituent organisations, including schools, synagogues, welfare, cultural and other Jewish institutions in New South Wales. And I also wish to support this motion to develop a strategy to combat anti-Semitism and commend the Council for its work in this regard. Anti-Semitism is one of the world's oldest hatreds, and it's not simply a prejudice or dislike. It is a system of ideas that portrays Jewish people as uniquely dangerous, manipulative, disloyal, or evil. Over centuries, anti-Semitism has adapted to different historical contexts. So Jews were first persecuted primarily on the basis of their religion, and then catastrophically on the basis of race when the Nazis sought to depict Jews as biologically inferior. Today, anti-Semitism has again evolved, often presenting in political or ideological forms. And while its core remains unchanged, the dehumanization and scapegoating of Jews has not. In contemporary settings, anti-Semitism is frequently expressed in ways that are harder to recognise, and one of those ways is through forms of anti-Zionism that go beyond legitimate criticism of Israeli government policy and instead deny the Jewish people the right to self-determination, applying double standards that aren't expected of any other nation, or to hold Jewish individuals collectively responsible for the actions of the State of Israel. And we've certainly seen that being played out in Australia. And when this occurs, anti-Zionism becomes a modern manifestation of anti-Semitism. And let me be clear, criticism of any government is legitimate in any democracy, but when language or conduct targets Jewish identity, erases Jewish history, or singles out Jews for treatment no other group faces, it crosses the line. So developing a draft strategy provides clarity, education, and consistency. It helps council, staff, and community members understand what anti-Semitism looks like today, how it manifests in local settings, and how it is harming our social cohesion. And this motion is about ensuring that Hunters Hill is a place where all residents feel safe, respected, and included. By addressing anti-Semitism explicitly and by acknowledging the role that it can play when it becomes discriminatory, Council is demonstrating leadership, responsibility and moral clarity. And I commend this motion to Council and strongly support its passage.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillors, do you have any questions of Michelle? If not, we have a motion and some updated attachments that were circulated earlier today on page 1 of the agenda, that is to adopt the draft strategy. Moved, Councillor Tanu-Sleeman, seconded Councillor Bergara. Councillor Tanu-Sleeman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, ma'am. Firstly, I want to thank our wonderful speakers for tonight and coming at very last minute. So Shana, firstly, you're a brave young lady, and I know your dad would be very proud of you that you've taken such a tragic event and turned it into something so positive. So my prayers and thoughts are with your family, and thank you for turning this into an opportunity for yourself to go out there and speak as an advocate and put things in such simplistic terms. I think it's important. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really appreciate you coming online today. Michelle, again, thank you for your tireless efforts. You have been so heavily involved in educating our community and the wider community, and you've also been such a level of support to the Jewish community. And I commend you on your leadership, and I thank you again at the very last minute to come in and to support this motion. So thank you. I also want to acknowledge Annie and the team for putting together this document and being incredibly considerate, given we've made a few changes along the way. The goalpost kind of changed after the 14th of December. So thank you so much for your patience. I also want to thank Will Nemish, the Mayor of Waverley Council, who put together a terrific template. And we've just taken a wonderful template and adopted it to ensure that it suits our local residents and our broader community. So thank you, Will, if you're listening. I want to just make sure for anyone that's joined us today, or any new members of our staff and any members of the public, to understand the context to why this motion did come to Council. And we did have an incident that occurred outside our local MP's office in July. And within weeks, we had developed this strategy because we developed a motion to not only condemn any form of anti-Semitism in our area, but we needed to act quickly. And we needed to send a message out to our community very quickly that we don't tolerate it, and that we were prepared to make sure that we put proactive measures in place. I'm proud to say that the motion was approved unanimously. Every member of the council approved it, and I thank all my fellow councillors for being brave to support this motion. And I think, and it was touched on earlier, we are the second council in Australia that's passed not just this motion, but a developed strategy. So I think, and we might be a small council, and we might have a 3% Jewish community, and they don't all sit at the nursing home. But we don't need it, because I think what we did, the motion was about who we are as Australians. So I want to acknowledge the work's been put in. I want to make sure that this document needs to be a working document. When things change, or when we start seeing developments, and I'm hoping they're going to be more positive developments in this area, and we start to see change, then that's going to be key. I do want to sort of make one final mention, and that is last week I attended a principals meeting in our area, and it became very apparent that we do have a gap. We have a gap in helping and supporting our community leaders, and we take for granted whether they're leaders in our churches or our faith, or leaders in our schools. It was brought to my attention that one of our schools late last year had a number of teachers who, and I'm saying a number, being 2% of the whole school base, that were refusing to teach.
Thank you, Councillor Tony Lehman. Any speakers against the motion? For the motion? I will just say that having chaired that Principals Liaison Committee meeting, I was actually shocked and a little disgusted in some of the information that had come to froth to the surface. And it certainly is not the expectation that we have in this community of cohesion and the right to have freedom of association and freedom of religion and freedom of speech. So I was actually taken aback by that commentary by the principal too, and certainly that's something that we'll monitor and that this policy will seek to give guidance around. So thank you, Annie, and the team that's put this together, and obviously in the context of what happened late last year, I am proud that council has taken this step and is one of the first councils to undertake this process. Councillors, I assume, do you want to write a reply, councillor? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone who came. Move on to item 4.2, draft Hunters Hill Solar Panel Guideline for Heritage Conservation Areas and Heritage Items, which might be the most local government item on the agenda tonight. Item 4.2 is on page 25 of the report. Is there a move? A move, Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Lehman. Any discussion, Councillor Williams?
A question, Mr. Mayor, or a comment in relation to the first page. Under report, the third last line towards the right, it sort of says on heritage affected properties. I sort of think terming heritage as an application on properties is probably not the right message we want to send to the community. So I would suggest we delete that concept. But
is that in the policy or in the report?
In the report.
In the report.
Just,
yeah, I'm sure that can be deleted. That's fine.
Yeah. I just don't think it gives the right impression of the importance of heritage. But it is important that we actually clarify the issue around solar panels. There's a lot of need for alternative energy these days, and even myself in the conservation area, I haven't been able to put solar panels on the roof because the roof configuration, but more importantly, I would need to put them facing the street. So this just gives clarity to our community as to what are the guidelines for installing solar panels, because heritage buildings can be significantly affected by structures on slate roofs, etc. But equally importantly for our conservation areas, that people know where and how to put them on the roof.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other discussion on this item, councillors? Against or for? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.3, revised data breach policy on page 30 of the paper. Any mover? Move Councillor Kassab, seconded Councillor Williams. Any discussion? It's going to be a short meeting, councillors. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. I'll be on a record here. Item 4.4, investment report as at 28 February. Councillors, can I just check if anyone wanting to speak on any of the other items in this paper?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I was being slightly flippant there, Councillor Williams. Item 4.4, investment report as at 28 February 2026. Moved Councillor Kassab, seconded Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Any discussion? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It's more a formatting thing, but on page 45, table 2, it's not very clear in the final column year-to-date earning variance as to which are negative and which are positive. I think it seems to be an issue through the whole report, either a computer error or something, but we just don't get a very clear picture as to where we're positioned.
We'll make sure that's remedied for the next round. Councillors, any other questions on this item? Councillor Lane.
Yes, just on page 44, there's a $4.863 million item for asset repurposing. Could we just have a clarification about what that internal restriction is, and is that previous sales, and we've now more clearly identified the amount that we're holding against it? Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
No, okay. I believe that's probably the proceeds of the sale of the Cow Street car park from 2012.
Right. Okay. Great to see it separately identified. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We now move to item 4.5, request for fee waiver, Hunters Hill Quilter Show 2026. Move Councillor Prieston, second Councillor Williams. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.6, minutes of the Clarks Point Reserve Community Action Group. Moved Councillor Vergara, seconded Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Any discussion, Councillor Vergara? No. Any discussion or questions, councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.7, minutes of the Conservation Advisory Panel meeting held 18th February. Councillor Lane, you had a non-pecuniary, non-significant. That's right. Interest. Okay. So you're intending to stay?
I can stay or leave, doesn't matter. But I won't talk to it.
Okay. Is there a mover? Move Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Kassab. Any discussion? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's a question. I noticed in the report that there's a requirement these days for all Indigenous cultural heritage report. I haven't seen that before in any requirements of council approvals, and I had a quick look back through the DA site where you can look at the different things, and I didn't come across it anywhere else. So just wondering, is this a new position council's taking in relation to requirements with DAs? If so, I think it may put a bit of a burden on our community if every application is now going to require a Indigenous cultural heritage report.
You'd prefer that we don't do that?
Well, I'm just wondering, the question is this a new direction which council's taken? Because I'm not aware of it. And it doesn't appear to be on other DA requests. So
I think the recent, in the recent Marina case, they had to do an Aboriginal cultural study.
Yeah, the council didn't do one for 16 Vernon Street.
Which one? Which one's that?
That was the one we were trying to sell, which we were unsuccessful with. But the point is, what is
that? Wasn't a development application. That was a asset recycling program. It's nothing to do with the DA.
The same principle. That I just would like to know from the staff as to whether this is now a standard practice, and if it is it going to be applied across the board, or if it's not, what is the trigger that actually requires people to incorporate a
Yeah.
what would be a fairly.
Sorry,
Moderate, Mr. Mayor, can you
Councillor,
clarify
sorry,
every other-
Councillor, I just had the director has said that she'd take it on notice.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Sorry, Councillor Preston. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Vergara.
Yes, I just wanted to note that, so in the minute itself, I declared my interest in item 3.1. This is just
Yes.
moving the minute. So do I have to declare that again?
No, that's fine. I think it's declared and re-declared.
Yeah.
It's just adoption of minutes. So for both councillors, if you have a prospective conflict. Councillors, any further discussion on this? If not, all those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.8, development applications determined under delegated authority in February 2026. Moved. Councillor Kassab, seconded. Councillor Tanu-Sleeman, any discussion? Councillor Lane.
I just had two questions on two separate items. So the first one was on page 78 at the bottom for 15 Church Street. There was a heritage impact statement that was submitted with that DA, but the DA didn't seem to go to CAP. So the usual question about why didn't it go to CAP? And it may need to be taken on notice.
I think that's probably appropriate. Yes, but that's first question.
And the second question is on the next page, page 80 at the bottom. So we're removing an Aleppo pine and we've recommended 2 trees as a replacement. We passed an urban forest management strategy, just the one. And that has a tree list in it of small, medium and large trees, which was supposed to replace our old recommendation. So we're removing a large tree, an Aleppo pine. The 2 trees that we recommended were a Backhausia lemon myrtle, basically, which is a small tree. The second one, the old man Banksia, is not a tree and not in our current list. Obviously, I think if the intent of the urban forest management strategy is to retain trees, can we just ensure that we're using this list? And particularly if it's a large tree like the Aleppo pine, we're recommending a suitable replacement, like there is a pine that's listed here, as opposed to these fairly small ornamental species instead.
She calls it.
Thank you, councillors.
I'm happy to take that on board and,
Yes.
and also have a look at why was it those trees, because it may well be the size of the front yard. I don't know. We need to just probably have a look at it a little bit more closely to determine why we didn't use the guide, but I'm happy to go and have a look.
I like it, old man Banksia. I think they're charming. Councillor Williams, did you have a question?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I saw your gesture before.
If you would.
Yes.
Again, it's an issue of consistency. On page 78, the Mara Sister School building, it refers to tree removal, and if you look at the DA, it's a very significant number of trees. And then you look at the other applications for tree removal, and there's fairly consistent approach of the type of species to be replaced and size, etc. And I think Councillor Lane had made reference to it during his speech or discussion. So I was just wondering why that inconsistency in the way that we approach DA approvals in terms of tree removal. There seems to be a very comprehensive approach for some DAs. For other DAs, it's just acknowledge that some trees are going, but nothing about its replacement or suitability. And it's hard to make sense of why those trees are going if there's no explanation as to a replacement.
Thank you, Councillor. We might take all of these on notice.
If I can assist,
Yes,
my
Councillor
fellow
Lane.
councillor, I also looked into that in a bit of detail. I think the issue may be the drawings. It was actually, as best as I can work out, a minor modification to a previous approval. And so, again, wasn't very clear from the drawings, but I don't think the trees, I think there was only one additional tree that was affected. I think it was mostly about a retaining wall and slight changes to the courts. But yeah, just really.
Councillor, I think that we'll get the planning director to give the planning advice to the council, if you please. Sorry, councillors, any other questions? Councillor Kassab.
Yes, I just had a quick question. If possible, are we able to get just high level with the ones that are refused? So with some of these where it's about trees, it says refuse and then it tells you why. But then with a lot of the other refusals, it just says refusal and doesn't outline.
Yeah, I think we had adopted a policy of actually going into the reasons for refusing applications, just so that we
Yeah.
know.
So yeah, that was my topic. Yeah.
Okay, councillors, any further questions? If not, I'll put the motion and write a reply. No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Now move to item 4.9, report on legal matters for February 2026. Moved, Councillor Williams, seconded, Councillor Kassab. Any discussion? Councillor Lane.
Just a question about whether we were aware if an appeal had been lodged on.
I don't believe it has. If you're asking about the marina,
Yes.
yes, and the time I believe has lapsed.
Time has lapsed. We
Yes.
hadn't received anything on Friday. Just making further inquiries, make sure it's just not stuck in the court system somewhere.
Yeah.
But at this stage, we don't believe so.
Right.
Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr Mayor, page, so I think it's 89 down the bottom, 279596. It makes reference to general advice site management plans for Buffalo Creek and Barania Park reserves. I'm not just wondering what that advice is and why it was needed. Again, probably on notice.
I can answer that one because I was the one who sought that advice in relation to issues around contamination and just how we need to move forward to address any contamination issues. And we just need a little bit further advice following those reports that we've received. We have no issues. We've got a clear management plan on how to deal with those now, but it was just making sure that we cross all the T's and dot the I's.
Presumably that's due to the management plan that we've had to put in place at Barania.
Yeah, and Buffalo.
And Buffalo.
Yeah.
Councillor Williams.
So there's a similar problem in Buffalo Creek, is there?
It's an old tip, so it's going to have a myriad of problems.
So we've got problems.
Those River Glade, so Park, they're all.
And we just have to manage them appropriately. So it's about how we mow the lawns, how we what we do when we dig, and doing regular checks and so forth. But there's no safety issues as long as we do the right thing.
So it's applicable across all our reserves. Yeah, thank you.
Well, not all of them, but
The ones that
a few.
are potentially contaminated.
Councillors, any further questions on the legal report? Councillor Lane.
Sorry, not on the legal.
No.
Sorry, can I ask one?
Councillor, yes, Preston.
Just a question on 39 Alexandra Street litigation.
Yes.
It was adjourned till 16 March.
Sweet.
How did it go?
I can answer that. It went well. There was an agreement in relation to the veranda. Had to get further advice. We cleared the advice from Viva. We had to get further advice from Telstra. Probably that's where I should leave it at this point in time because it's still a legal matter. But there'll be an update on that in the next week. There's some other issues associated with it.
Awning? Did we?
This is the awning, yeah.
Yeah.
So trying to get whether we get this awning up or not. There's some other issues with Telstra now, so we're just negotiating at the moment between the lawyers, and should resolve it in the next day or so. And I'll let you know once that's occurred.
So it's cost us like 16 grand to date, is that right?
Yep.
Councillors, any further questions? Not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Councillors, there is no correspondence, no general business, and no questions without notice. Councillor Lane.
I have a question without notice, yes.
Oh, yes.
So I asked a question at the December meeting that I was unable to attend around the section 712, and I think the response said it was going to come back to the February meeting just for an update when the section 712 will
It'll probably come back to the May meeting because we've got to just get written confirmation from the Department of Planning, and then we're in a position to bring it back to get it adopted by council.
Right.
So that letter's just going into them now, and we'll, as soon as they say tick, then we bring it back. We put the report up to you guys, you adopt it, and we go through the process of exhibition and so forth. But
and then the social impact assessment was also mentioned in that reply. Will that come in May or separately?
Social impact assessment.
Social needs assessment study. I think it was called.
I think that's all part of the credit report, isn't it?
So it's also May.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all part of that. One major report. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillors, that might be an absolute record. I am going to declare the meeting closed at 6.